And we're live. Broadcasting live. That's no jive. Da. Alright, let's talk about some shit, yo.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot to talk about, man. We here, we up, we rocking.
Bad news. Yo, what's up, my man? My mellow, my mans.
What's going on, bro? What's happening? Another
mucha.
week, another broadcast of We Come From Bad News. What's happening with you, man?
Oh, man. Eid Mubarak, you know what I'm saying? Salute out to all the Muslims in the house that just started eating during the daytime again. What a wonderful time to be alive. Amazing. Shout out to Kim Jong-un and his best friend, Donald Trump, our dictator, our most glorious leader. Shout out. Yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? It's just a crazy time to be alive. I think we're all just blessed to be a part of this madness, you know what I'm saying?
You got that right, man. It is a lot going on. So is
How are you?
Ramadan...
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm good. Hold on. Before we move on, before we get to that, I want to say, is Ramadan over now, or are we rounding third on it?
Ramadan ended on Thursday, and Eid was Friday. So Muslims all around the world celebrated the end of Ramadan on Friday, and are probably still celebrating now. Kids are eating a lot of candy and sweet stuff, getting some gifts, things of this nature. My family is not Muslim. I am the only Muslim in my family, so we didn't do nothing. I just ate and just chill. Oh, we went to see that new movie out. Incredibles 2. We went to see that.
2. Okay, I think we're going to check that out this upcoming.
We went and saw that. We took one of Langston's friends came with us. This little white girl. It was adorable. I saw my future. I was like, oh, no matter how black I raise this kid, I'm in California. He's gonna end up with a white girl.
It's just what it is, right?
I was sitting there thinking. So I was like, okay, so if the white. And I was sitting there, and then there's this beautiful cartoon that plays in the beginning of The Incredibles called Bao, and it's about this Korean mother whose son, goes off and marries a white girl, and about how she comes to accept a white girl. And by the end of the jump, she's making these pastries just as good as the mama's doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about cultural acceptance, that kind of thing. It's very, very, very lovely. Anyway, so I was sitting there thinking, I was like, what are the tests that I'm going to have to create for my white daughter-in-law to prove that she's okay? She's
all right. She's welcome into
she's going to fry
within the tribe.
Yeah, like she's going to fry some chicken or collard, make some collard greens, or like what is she going to have to do to prove like?
I think a watermelon eating contest would possibly be,
I was thinking something more like you got to read the autobiography of Malcolm X or something, to behold a pale horse, but shit like this. You should have to.
She's got to quote some good art.
Yeah, she got to convert. Art,
or she's got to know some different moments within the culture, that she can quote and relate to, and to be able to regurgitate that struggle.
Yeah, well, she's gonna have black kids, so she's gonna have. I'm just saying, they're gonna have to. There's gonna be some tests. She's gonna have to figure out how to make this pastry. How you doing, brother? How was life treating you? You getting ready to run a race? What kind of craziness is this?
It is, man. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm about to do my 9th Peachtree Road race here in Atlanta on July 4th. It runs pretty much up the center of Atlanta. Okay. It's about the largest 10K in the nation, 60K people out there. I'm one of the crazy people, in addition to my 2 sons that run with me. I always kind of look at it as kind of a test of life and a test of will every year, kind of an annual way to make an announcement to life that I'm still here, I'm still alive, and I'm still ready for whatever may come. Okay. And every year I just try to, maintain or do a little bit better than the last year. So it's something to strive for. And as I always kind of tell people on my page, you don't have to get in shape when you're always training for a race or training for something like that, because it keeps you constantly training and going. So that's what's happening with me. And even before we dig into that, I respect your whole journey, sir, as it relates to Ramadan and everything with that. That's like amazing. That takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of introspection. It's definitely a journey, and I do think that as we progress the show, if you want to do it now, whatever, we should talk a little bit about that in terms of maybe some lessons or some thoughts that you had before, during, or after your experience with Ramadan, because I think that's heavy. I think
no doubt. You're right. That's a very excellent idea. I'll take you up on that at another time. Maybe I'll prepare some thoughts for the next time, but. Let's get into some
some Saturday night, man.
It's Saturday night.
You know what I mean? Saturday night, Sunday
sleep.
morning. Your kids might be asleep, or the adults might be, ramping up the Netflix or anything like that. But since we're live and all that stuff, welcome everybody to We Come From Bad News, episode 41. We are a podcast. It's been around for the last year or so. We've expanded out to doing live and stuff. I am Al Billups. That is my co-host, Inyaze Vincent. We are each other's co-hosts. This particular week, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest events that's happened in the culture in quite a while, in addition to all of the other big events that's been happening in the culture that haven't happened in quite a while. Nas, godson, Nasir, finally released his album after several delays within the last 24 hours of it, supposed to be here. Had a little bit of a delay, but either way, we all have the album. We've all been digesting it. I know it's been in my car, my house for the last 24 hours. We're going to get into the texture of that. We're going to go through some layers. We're going to talk symbolism. We're going to talk legendary stuff. We're going to definitely get into this new Nas album. We're also going to talk a little bit about LeBron James. Going to ask the question, is this your king? The finals are over right now, so let's talk a little bit about, we've talked about LeBron before in terms of his impact on the culture and what he does and kind of how we look at him differently than what we looked at the different stars that we came up with, the Michael Jordans, the Magic Johnsons and stuff like that. So we're going to talk a little bit about LeBron now that the finals are over, kind of his whole champion for hire type of attitude. Let's talk about all that good stuff real quick. We're going to talk about depression. This is a big thing within the entire culture. We've lost a lot of different celebrities. We've lost just people in general. I read a few articles saying that millennials have very high depression or suicide rates right now. Let's talk about that in terms of from a perspective of you and I, what we do, what we go through, how we deal with things and all that stuff like that. So I think we got some great topics, another great show on deck. Let's get it.
All right. Salute to the guy, Nasir Jones. Shout out to all the dudes out there holding down original hip hop, grown man hip hop. Also, special shout outs to dudes not beating their wife and under no allegations or accusations of beating their wife. Just a special shout out to y'all that's holding it down.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to everybody.
Who doesn't have domestic charges pending or anything like that, preferably.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Salute
exactly.
to you, sir.
Just shout out to everybody out there. I'm just saying that for no particular reason. Completely disconnected from the following analysis of the music of the artist Nasir Jones.
It's nothing to do with
that. Nothing to do with it. I just want to say it's Father's Day. It's a Father's Day. And if you're not beating your woman, then that's kudos to you. So anyway,
absolutely.
So as I wanted to, okay. So for those of y'all who don't know what I'm talking about, and I can't believe y'all don't. The one thing the album does not talk about is the current allegations that Khalees has out there regarding Nas. So he ain't speak on that, and which may be the smartest thing you can do in the Me Too era, because if you speak about it, it's almost like uncorking a genie. But I think that is kind of part of the atmosphere of what's going on, so that you gotta be mentioned. That being said, overall, I posted. I think I posted on Twitter and Facebook my overall analysis, and I'll repeat it here. Essentially, I feel like overall, I really enjoyed this. I mean, it's very difficult not to enjoy Nas, but this album illustrated some of his most telling limitations for me. One of which is the limitations of his flow over certain beats. He got a very particular type of flow, and he only got a couple of things in the bag. And if the beat doesn't exactly fit his tool set, he tends to just invent these kind of, and it's not a very pleasant musical experience to hear all the time. But what normally compensates for it is that he's got these really intricate rhyme schemes, these very intricate in rhymes, and the pictures he's painting are very compelling. So he's got this god level story rhyme that's going on. But overall, I felt like it was a good effort. The beats to me were, not too exceptional. I felt like they were mid-grade Kanye West. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like there was that top Diesel, but they was mid-grade Kanye West. And the ones I like more, they kind of fell into two categories. One was like Rockefeller era Kanye, and the other one was like these Fauntleroy inspired joints. And
nice.
the Fauntleroy inspired joints are the ones that kind of appealed to me more, the ones that were a little bit more melodic, and felt like they let Nas naturally like kind of just ride the beat a little bit. But yeah, in comparison to Nas's earlier work, I felt like it was, B- at best. It wasn't. It wasn't. It's not something that I'm gonna be like, oh, it's a classic I got to return to. But I loved he was kicking a lot of street science. He was kicking a lot of pro-black shit. Definitely trying to shoot Kanye a lot of bail with that approach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was definitely standing up for strong, righteous black men, particularly the ones that don't beat women. And you know what I'm saying? I felt like that was present on his mind as he was speaking on that. So yeah, man, overall solid B-, I think. But in comparison to everything else, it's like if I was grading on the curve, it's an A+ compared to everything else. But for himself, I think it's a B-.
I agree. I agree with your take. I even agree with your grade. I think I might have went maybe B+ with this one, but B-, B+. It's not a lot of air in between those particular grades with that. So we're there. I feel like this particular release was definitely one of his better ones that he had put out. I mean, now it's not an Illmatic or a Stillmatic. Those are classics. I think a lot of those beats were a little bit deeper entrenched, a little bit thicker, as well as I think that the overall messages and themes, just the vibe and the energy he brought to the Hate Me Nows and some of his other classics were just different. But what I did like about this album is that it did a variety of things for Nas. It reintroduced him to the new era in terms of these millennials out there. They've heard names like Eminem and, of course, Jay-Z and all the legends of the game that we came up with. But that the conversations I always see with the millennials is around, okay, he was great back in 2000 and whatever, or great back in 19 whatever, but they're not doing anything now. They're not Drake, or they're not J. Cole, or they're not Lil Pump, or whatever particular hot person that's in the market right now. So it was good for people like Jay and Eminem and now Nas to release albums in the modern era to really say, all right, millennials, let me show you why I get the accolades that I get. Let me show you why I've sold X million records. Let me show you why everybody says top five, or top 10. So I do love that about it. And I feel like even from the first song, from the first one, which was Not for the Radio, where he was on there with Puff, in that song, instantly, he pretty much broke down who he was, what he was about, as well as I feel like he gave us that vintage Nas. Nas has always been very focused on men of color. He's always painted perspectives from the young black boy perspective, and we're going to get to that in just a second. He's always, to me, showed you, or at least allowed the listeners to really jump into the perspective of being a young black male in an urban environment. He really weaves really great stories to make someone who may not be a part of the culture have a better understanding of what we see in our perspective and the struggles and the trials that we go through. For instance, the song that I think one of the strongest cuts on the album that does this is Everything. I feel like Everything is probably, to me, if not the strongest, the one that holds the most depth and weight on this particular release. The whole album, I feel he has something to say, and we'll get into some of those themes in a moment. But with Everything, it really gives you the perspective of how we as young males fight for existence in this society on a daily basis. Right. I love the chorus of that song where it says, dark boy, don't you cry. There's too much light left in your eyes. That line just hit me so hard because it's in the society right now that we see there's a huge attack that goes on with black men. It's either we're looked at it one of two ways. We're either the criminal, the thug that we see, constantly thrown in our faces on a regular basis, or we're the other side in terms of what you and I represent. You're more upstanding, law-abiding citizens that go out, take care of their business, work and such. The more non-threatening people of color that we represent, or that particular sector of the populace, right? But it's rare that you see different artists and different males really talk about uplifting and empowering young black men. And that is the thing I've always loved about Nas. We can go all the way back to different songs to I Know I Can, and even on One Mic, to where he's always talking about the upliftment and the empowerment of young males in the struggle. Everything to me represents that fully. And everything I think is also one of the longer songs on the album as well, because it really takes its time to unroll it out. I mean, that song was really good. Like, out of all of the songs I've heard Kanye produce, from Pusher's album to Kid Cudi to his own to this one was actually one of his best songs that he put up there. You could tell they really took their time and really put out a great masterpiece. Another couple stands out, Cop Shot the Kid. Oh my God.
Yeah, I felt that one. I saw some controversy around that when some people wasn't feeling the beat. I feel like anybody that doesn't know, if you're not acquainted with Slick Rick and you don't have like some of that vibe in your heart, you're not going to get this song. But I thought the shit was, I was like, oh, okay. This is the interesting Kanye that I like, you know what I'm saying? When he gets, I like that joint a lot.
I love the Cop Shot the Kid. The Cop Shot the Kid, I love how the chorus just rings like literal gunshots, and I don't think that's by accident. I also love the repetition of the words. It's like, you know, a chant of accountability and culpability. It's like an indictment against the system that's being echoed and chanted as a chorus all the time. Yeah. The cop shot the kid. The cop shot the kid. And so it's like, you can't forget it. And it's intentional. And I agree with you. Yeah, the generational gap is there to where people, if they are not familiar with the song, the Slick Rick story, the Slick Rick song and stuff like that, they're already going, okay, this is annoying. But it's like, no, you have to really hear what they're saying. The ringing and the repetition of it is by design, because by the end of that song, all you can remember is, you don't even know what the verses are, but you can remember the cop shot the kid. And I just thought that was brilliant.
yeah, man. It's like, exactly. It's a perfect metaphor for the numbing repetition, you know, that the media hits us with, you know, the assault on black bodies. I mean, I can't even keep up anymore. Like, when you're talking to somebody about, like, yo, you heard about the dude that got jammed up in the Waffle House? It's like, oh yeah, which one? It's like, shit, you're right, my homie. I can't even refer to these things in the general anymore. Anyway, I felt the same way about that. I really enjoyed that track. I really enjoyed everything. I really enjoyed there was one other one I really liked.
The Adam and Eve was my other one too.
I think was it Adam and Eve that I was really feeling?
Adam and Eve was the one, to me, had the hook about Adam and Eve don't fall too far from the apple tree. Sound like Lauren.
Oh, I like Bonjour too. I like Bonjour too. That's the
Bonjour is definitely my favorite. Yeah. Woo! To me, Bonjour, Everything, and Cop Shot the Kid are like the three strongest ones. Not saying I don't like, you know, Not for the Radio, or that I don't like, I think, White Label and some of the other ones. No, those are dope songs. But to me, those are the songs that are really the stands out. Bonjour is, you know, that's about your global travelers right there, baby. Just the whole vibe. I was in the car today just letting Bonjour just keep repeating and playing over and over. And I just never got tired of it. It's that vibe. It's something about that nice letter. That's nice because he just rides it. Now, I do want to echo a sentiment that you had on his rhyme cadences and flow. I agree, because and we talked about this a little bit via text. It's on different songs where he'll start razor sharp on a certain cadence and he's bouncing over the beat. And I'm like, okay, let's go. But you're right. It seems like different times it's almost like he runs out of words or verses, or the beat changes in a way to where he's trying to figure out how he can fit certain sentences or words over top of that beat hump. And so it comes out kind of clunky, and then sometimes it just looks like, or it feels like he didn't put exactly the same level of sharpness on those words. Because I've caught different verses that he was spitting, and I was like, okay, that was cool, but then it was just like, okay. Like, for example, on Everything, the first verse is crazy. The second verse, it gets a little choppy. Yeah, it gets a little kind of, you know, like, and it takes away to me from the song a little bit, because that song, the melody is so great. The way they put the vocals out there is so great. Everything is nice, like, just dope. And I feel like it just deserves precision all the way through. Yeah. And I do feel like the second verse wasn't as precise. The other one where the second verse wasn't as precise was not for the radio. In terms of that one too. First one, boom, come in there. You know, do Big God, Dick Farrell, And I'm like, oh, that's that Nas. Nas, tell me about the gods and the pharaohs. Tell me how I resemble the people on the pyramids. Right. I love Nas for that. I'm like, every time I listen to Nas, I walk away going, I am a king. Yes, I am. I'm putting up the Wakanda sign. Yeah, I'm looking for where my jewels at. You know what I mean? I need to represent my lineage right now. Sure. I love Nas for that. But I agree. But some of his rhyme cadences and sometimes we call his lyrical consistency did wane. Like I heard some people go at different parts and stuff, and I can understand that. And I know it's hard to say when you talk about the God MC, but it's true. It's just
the way I think I totally feel you, but I think actually that limitation is is also one of his skill sets. He's like the product. He's as much the product of his limitations as he is the product of his abilities. And in this case, I think Nas is a literary writer trapped in a rapper's body. Like
I agree.
He wants to be Hemingway. Even though Hemingway was prone to brevity. But Nas is one of those rappers from the old school that likes to fit words that don't naturally lend themselves to flow or
rhyme,
or rhyme for that matter. And the emphasis nowadays in modern music is on flow and on melody, and so rappers will simplify what they have to say in order to get the flow right. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times what you see in the studio is that the rapper is like just mumbling shit, and they're just finding the flow of it, and then they write the words to go into that. But that is not how we did things in the 90s and the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Back then, cats wrote in their notebook and they wrote the words out, and then, nobody knew what music was, and nobody was like really counting notes and bars and beats and this kind of thing. They was just writing and, trying to figure out how to catch the beat. And it was later that the sophistication came. But, it's funny because one of the rappers that really sticks out, there used to be like a genre of this type of rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think back to J. Rue the Damager, or cats like that, like, they would have these amazing beats, like these primo beats, and then their rhymes, you could tell that they were like, I will be off beat if it means I can put this word from Elijah Muhammad's, from God, from the earth to God's or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, if I can put some knowledge into it, if I can put knowledge into it, I'm gonna put knowledge into it, and I'll sacrifice the flow for that. But nowadays, it's like flow over content. Really,
well, you know what? It's actually, and I was talking to my young music heads in the house about this today. It's more about style and vibe than it is about content and lyrics, and that's what it is. It's about that vibe. It's more so I'd rather have a dope vibe and great production, and if my lyrics, if they're okay, it's okay. In terms of that. And I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I think Nas and people, and even Jay is also guilty of doing this. He did this some different times on 444 and even some earlier releases, trying to kind of bend their flow into the current landscape, and it's always clunky.
But what I'm starting to realize though? You're right, it is clunky. Whenever they try to merge into the current style, it's ridiculous. I think Jay-Z does it the best because whenever he appears, he just kind of does his thing. And he's always kind of had that triplet rhyme, He was when he first came out, he was already doing that fucking tongue twisting rhyme and shit, that spitting.
Yeah.
But now what occurred to me was like, it's like nowadays, whenever you hear one of these God level rhymers, or like another one that came out was Black Thought's record, right? Whenever you hear one of these God level rhymers,
I heard that too, boy. Ninth versus Thought, I cannot stop playing
the Black Thought record is really the record.
215 and Ninth versus Black Thought. I just can't stop playing that record. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's like it's crazy how much amazing hip hop is out there in regards to that. So like, there's really no reason for people to feel unfed. But when you listen to that compared to what's marketed as hip hop today, you can see very quickly like hip hop as we understood it is now the jazz of today. You know what I'm saying? Like these cats, even a Snoop Dogg or whatever, when these cats are stepping out to do hip hop music, they're like Coltrane. They're like, Sonny Liston. You know what I'm saying? Like they're dusting off a skill set that is acknowledged and measurable And these kids who are out here making money right now are really doing kind of the hip hop version of punk rock. You know what I'm saying? They're testing the limitations, testing the boundaries of what sounds good, and pushing it as far as they can push it in order to stake out, whatever their identity is going to be in the future. And then so because it's funny when we talk about millennials, what's crazy is like we already at the age that the millennials are grown and got jobs and shit. So actually, when we talk about these kids, these little so and so and little what's he face
the littles,
as
Joe
you know what I'm saying,
calls them the littles.
These 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 21-year-old cats. These cats not even millennials anymore. They're like whatever. What is the generation after that shit? I don't even know. You like your kids? You know what I'm saying? Your kids aren't millennials. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're a little passy. I've got adults and all of that. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean your kids are post millennial. Like millennials are working for me at my agency right now. Right. They're in their 30s getting married right now. That's not your kids. Your kids, like, what the fuck are your kids? I don't know what your kids are.
I don't know what they call them. I don't know. Kind of a hybrid of kind of both. Because it's like when they were young, because it's like they were right on the cusp. Like they saw CDs, they saw like maybe the last stages of audio tapes and stuff like that. They were around for DVDs, and then they were also there as the streaming revolution kind of started and everything became more digital. So they were right, I guess, on the edge. Like they could say they know what a VCR is, they know what a tape is, they know what a CD is.
Nostalgically, they know what it is nostalgically.
Nostalgic, right? But even then, they had that stuff. But then they watched it flip, just like ourselves. So I don't know. I guess they're in the middle. So I don't know what that's called.
Even that analogy holds, because I mean, like, even if it's been 20 years, and when they grew up, when they were kids, they had VCRs and all this kind of shit. And now, I mean, and now all that stuff is like bygone. That's 8 tracks and wax. Basically. You know what I'm saying? And what were we digging in the crates back then when we were like 17-year-olds we were looking at Anita Baker. I mean, we were digging up Marvin Gaye records and Stevie Wonder. We were listening to Stevie Wonder, We were
listening to a lot of Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I mean, like, and Stevie, what a time to be alive. Stevie Wonder is still making music. I mean, I guess my point being is that we've exited the age now where hip hop is just for kids. Like now there is legitimately a genre called grown man hip hop. Like in LA, we listen to K-Day out here because K-Day plays, Daz and Snoop Dogg and all the old funk stuff and hip hop that grown people want to hear. And then you got another hip hop station that plays all of It's Wesson. Just a bang, whatever that is.
I don't want to hear that. Yeah, because I turn that off. I don't want to hear it.
Sometimes, like, maybe once in a blue moon, like, if I'm out and drinking with the girl, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can put some trap on, because trap is trap. You know what I mean? But,
no doubt.
It's like polka music. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anybody can dance to polka music, you can put some trap on, everybody get down. But trap music is not rap music or lyrical hip hop in the sense that we think of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's definitely more vibe. It's more vibe centric. It's more wave centric. It's club centric or whatever. But you're right. Then you got the other lane where it's more grown man hip hop. That's where you'll hear the Kendricks, the J. Cole's, the Nas's, the Jay-Z, stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm with you there.
So we beat that up. Nas took us some good places on that one. Okay, thank you. Salute
he did.
To
Nas,
the man Nasir
salute
Jones.
to Nas on that one. He did a great job on the album, I think. And I think B-, B+. So overall, we're thinking it's about a B-ish
satisfied.
effort.
Overall satisfied. Definitely streaming it. I hope he beats these charges. I hope that my fave is not another one of my faves is not trash, although I don't have a lot of hope.
Yeah, man. Well, we've already discussed the fact that most of our artistic heroes are scum, and that's just kind of what it is. But
they're gonna have to change that label.
To keep making music though.
Yeah, they're gonna have to change that label to bad music, bad boy music. They're gonna just be bad boy. They're gonna be bad boy. That's what good music is.
They're gonna be the new bad boy.
They're the new bad boy
because of the people there.
Yeah, basically.
I'm not mad.
All the abusers and psychopaths.
Let's go ahead and switch gears with our crazy self. Switch gears with our crazy selves and talk a little bit of sports. Something we've talked about before. LeBron James. Yeah. Is this your king right now? I've got a variety of different thoughts, but I'll go ahead and give at least a background on what we discussed before. In the past, we've talked about LeBron James in terms of how he operates and the differences between this particular generation of ball player and generations past. Yaze and myself, we grew up on a lot of great, we were fortunate to grow up on a lot lot of legacy players that are considered Hall of Famers, from Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Reggie Miller, Larry Bird, Clyde Drexler, the Dominique Wilkins, Spud Webb. I mean, I could go on and on, of different people that I looked at from all teams, not just 2 or 3 teams that have come together to make a super colossal run at it. All teams. I looked at the Utah Jazz. I looked at the Lakers. I looked at the Hawks. The Heat. The Pacers. There was the Boston Celtics. There was always teams and always different things around. Well, this particular day and time period, it's kind of more condensed. Different players are switching from one area to the other to be able to beat pretty much one team right now that will eventually be broken up. But eventually there'll be another team that will come together and be the super giant team, and then they'll all kind of come together to do that. A totally new NBA. Yeah. And so the last time we talked about LeBron, we talked about him being pretty much at the forefront of this new NBA. Well, the NBA Finals just ended, I guess, last week or something like that. All these different days and weeks start to blend together. So we'll say last week it ended. Yep. They got swept. That's right. Yep. The Cleveland Cavaliers got swept by the Warriors, Steph, Clay, and all of the fellas out there. They basically got them out of there in 4 games. Now, this isn't anything
It was unfair, though. I mean, it was totally stacked.
From a player perspective, yes, it is. Obviously, LeBron wasn't going to have so much help. Now, he did as much as he could do, but we're going to talk a little bit about that in terms of LeBron and his stuff, because I got just a couple thoughts on him with it.
It was like the Avengers versus the Defenders.
That is correct. It was crazy. But that's kind of the NBA now. That's what it is. It's like you have 1 or 2 teams that are like super duper, and then you got maybe 2 or 3 other teams, or 4 or 5 teams, whatever the case may be, that are all looking to get other people together to join in to stop them in terms of that. Like, the word on the street is the next team that our champion for hire, LeBron James, is going to go to. I got my ring and I can bring you a championship. Who's ready to pay is going to be out there your way. The LA Lakers. He's going to be out there with your boy Lonzo, and he's going to probably bring maybe potentially Kawhi Leonard.
That actually makes some sense. I didn't know that was the scuttle. Is that for sure? Or is that just a rumor right now?
That's the rumor and the speculation. Okay. But his son already goes to high school out there. He's already got a home out there.
He's already involved in like producing movies and.
There you go. Hollywood LeBron is already in full effect. Sense. So everyone is pretty much speculating that that's more than likely the place he's going to end up. Kawhi Leonard just announced, I think earlier this morning, he plays for the San Antonio Spurs, that he wants out of there. He's another star that is very good at what he does, but he's had some injury issues. But apparently he's back and ready to go. So they want to join potentially him and maybe Paul George and other people like that to come in there and form the next team in which they could try to beat up on Steph and the Warriors, because they've gotten 3 rings out there, so they're trying to take them out. So
LeBron does have a ring or doesn't?
Oh, LeBron has 3 rings. He got 2 of them with the Miami Heat and 1 of them with the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Warriors. But last year, or I should say this particular season, he got swept. This isn't anything new. There's been other people who've gotten swept. Magic Johnson got swept. Kobe Bryant's been swept, if I'm not mistaken. Different champions and Hall of Famers have gotten swept. That's nothing new under the sun. It happens. It's a part of the game. But let's talk about LeBron James. Here's something in this. I'm sure you probably did not watch much of the final, didn't care. Not going to lie to you, I'm a big more of a football head than basketball, but I did catch, the final couple games, and I did see some things that happened. And our champion for hire, it just had an interesting final series. It really, to me, showed a lot of who he was as a player and as a person. Now, I'll give some, so I'll preface this before I go in real quick. As a human being, LeBron is great. As off the court, he's definitely very much involved in his community. His team is made up of friends and people he's been around a lot of his life. So he's made leaders, he's made entrepreneurs, he's made multimillionaires. He's definitely spread the wealth around. He's done his job in terms of that. He's also even brought a championship back to his hometown. So that all should be commended. And the man can play. He's definitely one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world. I've said all that. Now, the best player in the world, who proclaims himself to be, and most analysts claims himself to be, let's have a real conversation. In this particular finals, our champion for hire quit on his team. He quit on his team. It was very obvious in game 1. Oh, yeah, he definitely did. I watched it happen all throughout the games in terms of that. Game 1, they were in there. Best game they played in the series. Keeping it moving. They were keeping it going all the way to the last one. Okay, there was a big mistake by J.R. Smith, who messed up a whole little situation, and LeBron had scored 51 points, and they still could have won, and everything as well. However, if you go back and look at that camera footage that they showed right before this particular team, Cavaliers, went into overtime, which they still could have won the game. The game was not over. It was still within reach. Well, this dude decides to throw a tantrum and be disconnected from his team. No, he's not a leader. In the midst of chaos, we saw the cameras firmly on LeBron James. He had an opportunity to rally his troops right then and there to say, okay, all right, you made a mistake. It sucks. It's fucked up, but we're going to keep moving. Let's get together. Let's get our head together. How many timeouts we got? What's going on? Let's get it going. We're not losing this game. I just scored 51 points. I'll score another 51 if I have to in this fourth quarter or this overtime. Whatever I have to do in order to make this happen. Nope. He decided to pout.
I think you're right. I think the generational, the generational sort of divide does rear its head. Obviously, if we go back to the strongest leader, I mean, Jordan. Obviously, Jordan is the template for a lot for our group in terms of like who was the best out there in terms of commanding the troops and also sheer athletic prowess. But Jordan didn't start that way. You know what I'm saying? He was arrogant and hot headed and stupid when he first started and that kind of stuff. But he grew out of it. With LeBron, I think there's less incentive for him to commit. I think it is the millennial mentality, but like
break it down.
Well, I'm just saying like essentially now I think that the entire game is less about how well these guys play athletically and how well they play marketing wise.
Okay.
So LeBron is handsome and well spoken enough. He can appear in movies. He can act a little bit. You know what I mean? So he's going to get the endorsements. He's going to get the sponsorships, even if he's not bringing home like the Masters or rings or whatever. Or like, obviously he's got to play good enough to stay in the NBA. Don't get me wrong. Right. And his natural sheer athletic prowess allows him to do that. I mean, he's a big motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Which, that's always been the thing about the NBA that, if my cynical part of it is that it's so arbitrary how tall you're going to be. You know what I mean? Like soccer, everybody got feet. I mean, what I'm saying? Like if you got feet, all feet are the same height. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you have feet. If I'm not saying everybody has feet because I don't want to be ableist, but if you have feet, all feet are at the same level and you can play soccer. But basketball, some motherfuckers are just born of giant sperm for some reason and they come out 20 goddamn leagues high and they can just drop the ball into the net. And that is a significant genetic advantage over dudes that gotta like train hard to get ups. So anyways, LeBron is one of those dudes that falls into the category of natural extreme outlier athletic talent and genetic composition. Anyway,
yeah, he was born to play.
He was born to play. He was one of them niggas that was going to get a lot of money for the fields. And anyway, so what I'm saying is that I don't think there's any like the Golden State Warriors, like that whole team exists because of I don't know how it works. I'm not going to pretend like I understand the algorithm, but clearly they have enough money to pay this incredible roster, right?
For the moment, but they probably got one more year, and then after that, they're going to end up breaking up because they can't pay everyone in terms of that. And so they got maybe one more run they can make here before it gets a little difficult to keep all those people together.
Sure, yeah. So, but I mean, like in a weird way though, it just proves the point that like if you throw enough money at it, then you'll win. You know what I'm saying? And like it just kind of it erodes the sportsmanship of the shit, which, you used to think it was about athleticism, coaching, interplay of the teammates, that kind of stuff. But it's like, no, you could just buy 5 to 6 of the most genetic freak abnormality outline motherfuckers, put them on a team, and they're going to dominate. Some dude with Cyclops vision that he could just shoot 3-pointers from goddamn, it's like
from the parking lot, right?
That's like
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's like 1 in a million. 1 in a million that guy. You know what I'm saying? So LeBron's like rightly, I think he's partly just looking at it and going like, look, everybody in this shit is on drugs, performance enhancers. You know what I'm saying? And You know, the referees is full of shit. I think he just took the red pill at the middle of that motherfucker and was like, you know what, I ain't gonna kill myself over this shit. I'm about to be in Hollywood.
Yeah, this was apparent because man, and the
I'm just
last
saying,
game,
what's in the event going down with the ship?
What's in the field?
Who's gonna give?
Just
is anyone? I guess from my whole point. I'm sorry, Bill's so good, but is anyone gonna give LeBron there his due? I didn't even know the nigga had 3 rings. You know what I'm saying? The way they talk about LeBron, the way they talk about LeBron James, they talk about him like this dude ain't never really.
Nah. What it is that it's perfect because you put me right where I need to be. No. He gets plenty of his props and he's got his rings and again his accolades are well deserved. He does play what we call a game of statsball though. He does that. He makes sure that he gets his stats more so than anything else. Matter of fact, many times he puts his stats ahead of anything. Like for instance, people want to call LeBron the GOAT, but this guy doesn't play defense. He never takes the top guy. He's a scorer. He loves to play offense. Yeah. And in this particular series, he stepped up a little bit, but overall, he doesn't really play defense. Michael Jordan is one of the few players, if not the only one, they got offensive player and defensive player in the exact same year. So what that says is, and that's why when people talk GOAT and everything like that, I go, okay, let me tell you what that means. That means that man was scoring 35, 40 points a game or more and then running back on the other side and making sure that the other person doesn't score. That's GOAT.
Yeah.
That's a person, to me, that type of behavior, that's a person that wants to win. The difference between a LeBron and say a Kobe or a Jordan, and we're not going to go too deep. Obviously, these are all fantastic players. They all deserve accolades. But again, these analysts keep putting LeBron in that same category just because he plays statsball. And let me tell you, the big difference between that is that Kobe and Jordan wanted to win with all cost. Meaning you put Kobe Bryant in the fourth quarter of a game, he can still win. Even if in his mind, he doesn't think he has all the right people on the court he needs. Even if he feels like, I don't know if this is going to work, it's all on me. He's going to shoot his way into it as much as possible. He may still lose. Yeah. It still may be the exact same outcome. But what you'll say is he went out gunning. He went out shooting. LeBron was content with walking around the court, barely shooting and tossing the ball away. And I'm like, look, in your mind, I know you were like, this is over. I'm checking out. I can't win. It's a winless situation. But for you to quit in the middle of it, it shows your heart. It shows you who you are.
You know what else?
For that, I don't respect you.
I got one alternative theory. I don't disagree with what you just said there, but answer me this because you know my knowledge of sports is weak. But did LeBron go to college?
He left in high school similar to Kobe Bryant.
That's what I thought. I thought he went straight to, right, he went straight. So I personally think the ones that go to college, especially if they play for a significant amount of time, you go back to Jordan. Jordan played for was he a Duke or?
Yeah, UNC.
University of North
Carolina, Tar Heels.
Tar Heels, that's right. Sorry, goddamn. Somebody kill me for saying Duke.
You're going to get hate mail for
my
that,
bad,
bro.
My bad, North Carolina. No disrespect.
Y'all get off my people.
No smoke.
Man, get off my people. Go ahead.
Yeah, no smoke. But yeah, he went to college, and I think when you go to college, because you're playing for the same team, you repping the same number, you develop more of an affinity for that team, and so you develop more of a sense of team play.
That's a good point.
And depending on a certain group of people over a certain length of time, you know what I'm saying? But then when you flip to this new breed, Kobe, obviously probably the most. The first example I remember that shit going straight to but he was fairly loyal. But LeBron, he's this new breed, right? He didn't go to college. He didn't have any loyalty to any particular brand or whatever. He's a millennial. He's a free agent. It's like it makes sense for him to want to be in LA. I'm like, it's weird. It's almost like Cleveland for LeBron. I mean, I'm glad. I mean,
that's where he's from. He's from Akron,
I'm saying, but he ain't been Cleveland in a long time. You know what I'm saying? He been Hollywood LeBron for a long time. He been appearing in movies, guest starring on TV shows, you know what I'm saying? Like endorsing products, involved in digital marketing and all this kind of stuff. He's already diversified. And so it only makes sense for him to relocate to his final destination, LA, and help us go ahead and get one of these rings, because it's been a long time since the Lakers been worth a goddamn. I tell you that.
It is, and it's going to be much to Kobe Bryant's chagrin, because based upon his current tweets and his energy, he just loves him some LeBron, and of course I'm being sarcastic. So it will be very interesting if the rumors are true that he ends up in LA, but I've got a good feeling that that's probably where he's going to end up, unless he just does something totally different. But it seems to make sense.
That'd be great for us. I mean, like, even if we
don't
win,
even if we don't win, hey, that's fantastic.
even if we don't win, it'll be great for attendance. You know what I'm saying?
It will be. Oh no, it's definitely going to do some big things for the city and stuff. And again, I wish the man all the best in terms of his career and what he does. I didn't respect how he kind of handled that situation, at least on the end. But hey, he's an athlete. He's got every right to kind of do it. And if he felt like he wanted to mail it in, then so be it. That is his choice.
He's a businessman.
My final thoughts on LeBron is he's a fantastic athlete. He is a champion for hire, and I think that we should treat him as such. So there you go. Good luck to LeBron.
That's awesome. My final summary is that he is a very talented celebrity.
There you go. I think that we're both on target for that. We can now move on to the heavier section of the program here.
Yes, indeed.
We're gonna talk a little bit about the current, one of the many current items that is plaguing our society and has always, but it's really come to the forefront because I think as of recent we've lost a few big name celebrities. You and I both know that issues that happen to regular folk like ourselves do not get the press and notification they get until they actually impact someone of stature or celebrity within the culture. I think we lost two prominent figures as of recently to suicides, and all of the signs and discussions post death were around, them being depressed and them having issues coping with things. And of course, it always brings it home to a large degree when you see people who are affluent, people who are at least on the surface living their dreams, people who have a lot of money and influence and family and success, to see someone in that position feel as though they want to take their life and be away from everything that they've worked so hard to get, and all the notoriety that they've gotten and the accolades they've gotten as a result of seeing that. So a lot of discussions in the marketplace have been around people, especially millennials, having a very high rate of depression and suicide based upon, I guess a variety of factors. I'm not a doctor, so I figured that we would discuss it because obviously we're two young men, with families and we deal with emotions and such. We bleed, we cry, we go through things. So, talk a little bit about, kind of how we cope, how we deal with things, and just our thoughts in general as to what's going on.
First of all, yes. Actually, a recent study came out that said that suicide rates have risen by like 25%. It's particularly on the rise amongst millennials and young people. Also, coincidentally, they're having less sex. So I don't know if that's
what the hell is that all about?
So I don't know if that's causal or correlated or
that's
know what I mean.
Interesting.
But yeah, all of that. So like overall, I think people are more disconnected. You know what I mean? In general, like we had this technological boom, which gave us these cell phones and all this instant access to everything, and
it was supposed to bring us closer together.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what it's done is reveal the limitations of intimacy, and what it's revealed is that we're not really in search of like a quantity of love. We're in search of a quality of love. And I'm not a psychologist, so like
me either. So,
yeah, I mean, so I don't approach it. I'm not approaching it from that perspective. I will say that if you are depressed and you're experiencing depression, you should get professional help, because they study this in a clinical environment and their rates of success are better than probably using the world as therapy, as Kanye has suggested.
Or church in terms of that, and I'm not shunning any type of spiritual or anything with faith. It's with it, but
because I'm definitely okay with I'm definitely okay with faith-based support groups as long as
no issues with it at all.
Yeah, as long as the success rate is good. Because like I grew up in the ghetto, and as you did yourself, and there were people who were addicted, and the only thing that could save them was the idea of Jesus, even if whether it's real or whether it's an idea in their head. That was the only thing that could get them right. And I'm like, I'm okay with that too if that does the job. I'm a pragmatist, essentially, right? I just want something that works. I don't care what it looks like, what it tastes like, as long as it gets the job done. And with this whole with this whole heightened consciousness, I think around mental health, I think one thing it says is how comfortable we are physically, in a weird way, because there are other people who are who don't have the privilege of thinking about how good they feel in the head. I mean, like, lest we lose sight and objectivity, there are people that are like being trapped at the border and being separated from their kids, migrants who are running away from mortal danger, people who are trapped in a cycle of fight or flight, that they don't have the time or the privilege or the resources to contemplate the things that'll make them happy or not happy. So I'm gonna just say, first of all, let's thank God for the opportunity to have the conversation about how we feel about if I'm happy or if I'm not happy. You know what I'm saying? Not to be too preachy about it, but I think that's something worth.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
You know what I mean? And but that being said, I think also we got to get over, if there's a stigma attached to it, I think the stigma is that we've been taught a lie, which is that if you get enough stuff, then if you own enough stuff, then you'll be happy.
Right.
That's the American dream. Yeah, make enough
that
money.
That specific job. Yeah, your happiness is all external.
Get that apartment. Yeah, get that right car. Get the right girl. Get the right man. Get the right whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Dial it in, and then you're going to be happy. And what we keep finding out is that this isn't a recipe for satisfaction. That something is always missing from that equation. And I'm not saying it's God or whatever, but I'm saying it's God shaped and it's in your head. You know what I'm saying? And you can fill it with whatever we fill it with. Whatever purpose. There's a purpose shaped hole in your head, is what I'm saying. And I think ultimately when we don't have that sense of purpose filled up, we lose motivation, and we don't have the ability to overcome the natural accumulation of shame and self-loathing that we build up and accrete as beings who are prone to make fucking mistakes. Like if we were perfect and we always executed shit perfectly, we would never feel ashamed. We would never feel like, we wouldn't ever be down on ourselves, but we do all the time. Even when we know better, even when we know better, we still fuck up and we make mistakes. And we naturally accrete shame around that, and I'm saying, like, and if we don't have a sense of purpose or something, or some sense of what is good about us to compensate for that, I feel like that's where we get pulled into the dark side. And once you get pulled into the dark side, that's an interesting question of, like, are you then responsible for yourself? Who is responsible then to come get you if you fall into the dark side? To get you out of the darkness.
Yeah. And that's a great segue, because I was going to ask in general, when people get into that dark space, like there are some people, and you and I have talked about this on previous podcasts, that can journey to that dark place under their own, power and influence, and be able to kind of walk the boundaries of darkness and be able to look in there and evaluate and see things, but then be able to exit that and be functional and move forward with their purpose or their perceived purpose. So I guess what I was thinking about is the people who get lost in that darkness, the people who can't seem to pull themselves out there, get back to that door and get back on it. The method of being able to cope with that in this day and time has got to be overwhelming, because you've got social media, you've got your real life people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, and then you've got your family and everything with that, all these different factors, while someone is struggling to get out of the darkness. On the surface, all looks well, But on the inside, these people are going through all kinds of hell and all kinds of different thoughts. So for myself, and you and I have also talked about this, I mean, I'm normal. I have my ups, my downs, just like normal stuff. But I don't tend to wallow or allow myself to wallow too much in the dark. Now, again, this is just Al's thing here. Because, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show, I do take more of an optimistic approach to it. I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
It's true.
The reason, I always have been. And that comes from trauma. It comes from at 5 years old, seeing, I still to this day still see, that gunshot, that thing going right there. I still to this day see where different friends were in gun situations. I still remember seeing different things that happened where people died or it was there. So in my mind, in terms of that, I always look at everything as, well, I got to live. I'm all about life, because I've seen so much death. So it's hard for me to wallow in it, but so long, because after a while, mentally, I'm going to snap and go, you got work to do. And you need to, you pull yourself up and start to get it together and let's move along. But everybody don't have that trigger, or everybody, don't have that. They don't, and again, maybe that bounce back. Yeah, that's a very, very good term to use that. I'm grateful every day for that, because it allows me not to get too deep into it. Don't get me wrong. I get overwhelmed. I get frustrated. I get irritated. And I love my children, but just like any other children, any other parent or whatever, I've got children that test the boundaries of authority on a regular basis. I've got kids that, want to kind of, it is what it is. It's not perfect. You have to deal with that. And then my kids have their own little things that they bring to the table that surprise me at times, where when we have different discussions, or when I happen to hear something, people telling me about how they were in the darkness and how they did different things or whatever. And I'm like, what? Because again, I kind of have my own way of dealing with things, but also I sit back similar to you and everyone else, and I go, what's the problem? Mm-hmm. And I think that's also the thing that happens in society a lot, right? We go, what's the problem? You look healthy, you seem to be doing well financially, your kids seem to be okay, everything seems to be okay. What's the problem? Yeah. And then you just don't know what is going on in this person's head. Like, yeah, all that is great, but I can't get out of my anxiety, or I can't get out of this funk, or for whatever reason. And I sometimes struggle to try to understand that, even with my own children. To go, I'm in my mind, I'm always going, well, what's the problem?
You know what, man? That's real, man. I think like, to be all like totally stoner fucking cosmic mind on the shit, man. Like, I really think that I've said it before. I really think that purpose is a finite resource that we're all fighting over. Like,
purpose is a very good. I see where you're going. Go.
You dig what I'm saying? Like, once upon a time, when there were far less people, every member of the tribe or every member of the community was essential, was necessary, and so everyone had a lot more value. I think, strictly speaking, mathematically speaking, I think people have less value to each other than they once did. It is less important for an individual person, practically speaking, to be alive than it once was in a village. We have way more people on the planet than is necessary to sustain human existence. You dig? So a lot of people, we're beautiful. We're all beautiful. We're all made of stars, but a ton of us are superfluous, and nobody wants to internalize that. Nobody wants to deal with that on an objective level. And I feel like some of this shit is elasticity of worldview. Like, I know what it feels like to want to be special. I've been a performer before, and I went through my 20s, and I went through adolescence. Everybody goes through that shit where they turn inward and become the center of their own world, like real tough, and you feel like you're a god and all this kind of thing. And what meditation and spiritual practice taught me was that whenever you're deep in the throes of that, you're also typically deep in the throes of suffering, because everything that goes wrong is also your fault.
Right.
Just like you're taking credit for everything that's going right and it's all about you, you also have to take credit for everything that's going wrong, even stuff that can't possibly be in your control.
Right.
You know?
Very good.
So I'm not saying you got to believe in God or be like, yo, thank God for all these things that are happening to me that are good, but it's also important to recognize there are forces outside of you, that there are mechanics, physics outside of you, which also contribute to the fact that everything is going your way or something is going your way, you know?
I totally agree. And I do think that faith and purpose are things that can help people pull themselves out of those dark places. Again, I'm not going to go totally typical black person and go, you just need to go to church, get you some Jesus. Well, there's nothing wrong with that if you feel like that's the answer. But however,
well, it's a synthetic form. That's what religion is. Like, that's what the Christianity is. It's a synthetic form of purpose. Because it ain't like, you know what I mean?
Very good. Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah, it ain't real. Yeah. It ain't real, but like, if you believe it, it'll make you feel like you got a reason.
It does. And don't get me wrong. And the church is great because you kind of get a lot with the church, right? It's multi-purpose. You get fellowship, you get spiritual guidance, you get a social, type of network, and even maybe possibly an artistic,
and you get a story. You get a story in which you are a vital character. You are a soldier in the army of Christ, and you are fighting against the devil, the cosmic personification of evil, so that you can finally arrive at the end times when your Lord, the incarnation of the creator of the universe, will come back. You know what I'm saying? Like, God damn it, you're in Star Wars. That's an amazing story that you're in right now. Oh my God. Oh my God.
You're not wrong. But the thing about it, and we have to be honest too, that hey, some people may need a little bit more than just that spiritual gratification or that spiritual rooting.
Oh, yeah.
They
Some
may
people
actually need to speak to someone who has taken time to study these things and has actually participated in assisting people to guide them out of their dark places or 1,000%. Give them, because that's what therapy is. It's basically someone giving you strategies around what you can do, so that way you can maintain and be able to do that. So just keeping in mind, in addition to finding some level of spiritual purpose or some sort of beacon that you can see in the darkness, as well as also just finding purpose in general, things that you can do in life and finding yourself, but also just not being afraid to reach out for professional help. Church is great, but therapy is also something that's there for people. So just in general, to tie this up from my end with it, be honest with yourself in terms of that. There's nothing wrong with feeling the way that you're feeling. And just because some of the people around you may not totally understand why you can't pull yourself out of it or or the depths of it, that doesn't mean that you still don't seek help and let people know what's going on. In this day and time, we're losing a lot of people to this, and I feel like it's something that more conversation should be had about it and more awareness around it. And obviously, we want everybody to be here as long as possible. So please get help and just know that you're never really alone in that darkness. It's just all about how you handle it and what you see going forward. So there you go with that. That's what I got with that.
I love it. Also, I don't want to leave people with the wrong impression. Even though I observe Ramadan and I consider myself a religious person, I'm essentially an existential pragmatist, and I don't understand anything about the actual nature of God or any of that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm just living on the planet Earth and hoping that I will be rewarded for the trouble. But
right.
because that is the framework because that gives me a framework in which to live my life and evaluate my moral and ethical choices. That's why I adopted religion in my life. But yeah, to your point, I don't think necessarily that religion is the ultimate answer to mental health or wholeness. I think ultimately the answer to mental health and wholeness is understanding the parts of us that are empty and yearning, and being okay with saying, hey, I'm empty here. I need to be shored up here. I need help here. I need help. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, if anything goes wrong, I'm your nigga. You come to daddy. You say, hey, I need help. And it's okay it's always okay to say I need help. Like, that's one of the wrongest things I think that ever gets taught to kids, to anybody, is be like, don't bother me or not making time for somebody. So It's
do
okay
it yourself.
To
be self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency does not mean that you do not ask for help when you need it. I need help should be there, and if you do need it, just know that
that's
you.
Right.
You know,
that's
you
a part of
never learn that,
self-sufficiency. A part of self-sufficiency is the ability to ask for help. And so guys, if you feel bad or you need a shoulder to lean on somebody, man. Lean on them and don't feel bad about it. We all need
totally
each other.
agree. Yeah. Make no apologies with it. So I feel like we've kind of set our piece on that.
Yeah, obviously, we stayed pretty positive on that one too. It wasn't too much of a bummer, I don't think.
No. We kind of, we set our piece and kind of kept it moving in terms of that. So yeah. I think we're good unless you want to sprinkle in a little bit of this.
All good. I didn't listen to
Jay and Bay B thing.
No, I ain't listened to Bay and Jay-Z yet. So let's talk about it after I have a chance to actually listen into it and read some of the think pieces, all the inevitable scuttlebutt that'll come out of this shit. They couldn't let Nas be great for goddamn 24 hours.
No, they just had to do it. Here, Jay was just like, Nas dropped his album yesterday.
They still got beef. They still got beef. I just thought
that was hilarious. And then Drake's going to come here in a few weeks or so and just go ahead and go, all right, all y'all be quiet because Drake is out. So it's just interesting. But I must say, and I'll say this one last thing before we kind of sign off and do what we do. Yeah. Once again, we have got to get Mr. West his props. In general, because again, let's not forget, this man has put together there's 4 albums, his own, Pusha, Nas, and Cudi. He has put together 4 albums, 7 tracks each, and again, it's a variety of different songs, a variety of different moods, but I cannot say enough. There is a lot of great production within these 4 albums. It is difficult to make one album with halfway decent production and halfway decent songs. So to make 4 that are the talk of the culture is amazing.
But technically, it's 7 songs each. It's either 4 dope albums or a really dope double disc.
Okay.
Like by like our standards in terms of CDs. Like I respect the whole 7 album format, but technically to me, this shit is just a double disc. Good music summer. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I can live with that.
In fact, I think after all these joints come out, the proper way to listen to this shit is probably going to be mix all these songs up into a playlist of your own, and then all these shits is going to jam. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to put them off on shuffle. I bet they'll go off on shuffle. I'm about to say.
I ain't gonna lie, it would make a very nice long form kind of mixtape. Just basically just hit play and just go Daytona, Kid Cudi, Nas, it just all let him play at once.
He just got us with the strategic release, man. It's all just one mixtape. He just released it in 4 parts.
I ain't mad. We still got I think the girl too as well. I forgot she's dropping too. I forgot
Tiana.
Yeah, so still got her too.
Yeah,
so we'll
Tiana,
see.
right.
We'll see what we do with that. But all right, bro. This has been wonderful. Tell the people where they can find you and stuff, man.
All right, man. Come at me on Twitter at Nyaze, Nyaze. I'm on Facebook. I tweet everything publicly. I don't care. Come at me. I don't care. I'm also Woke with Kids. My other podcast with my wife. Yeah, Woke with Kids. # Woke with Kids. Come check us out as we talk about politics and culture and all that kind of stuff. It's beautiful. What's up?
All right, good stuff. Make sure you definitely check out Woke with Kids. In terms of myself, you can find me on Twitter, AlDiddy1712, ALDIDDY1712. Catch me on Instagram, Algernon's October. My A&R pursuits on Team Shaheem. And as far as We Come From Bad News, you can check us out on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Check out our Facebook page. We're live right now, or we were live right there in terms of taping this episode. We always put our episodes up there as well as other great content. Our Instagram. Check us out. Leave us reviews, comments, continue talking. My man Calvin made a cool comment the other day in SoundCloud. Say he's been listening to us from day one. He's keeping it pushing. He's responded in the past. Hopefully listen to the broadcast again, bro. We appreciate you. Keep it coming. If you got something you want to talk about specifically, let us know. If you want to come on the show, let us know. We're always down for having some good guests. I got a couple little local cats here that I'm looking to put on, add some more spice and variety to the show. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. Give us some reviews. Keep the love coming. We will see y'all next week. Peace, love, and all that. Peace.